What's good, people? This is Jason of the What's a Good Though podcast. We talk about movies and TV shows, and this week we are back. Raising Kanan, episode 3, Tricks. Yes, the episode directed by Joseph Sikora, aka Tommy. This episode, I feel it is a setup on the word trick, just showing you different versions of different ways that people can be I feel like tricked in this moment. Well, I do think that Stefano is tricking Kanan, getting him back into Rock's business, which is none of his business at this point. You also have Flossie's women who are now intertwined into Rock and Marvin's business as well. You got those tricks in that scenario. And you also have Breeze's homie, Taz, who feel as if he's being tricked out of his spot, which of course this episode begins with the bang. R.I.P. to Reggie. I don't recall ever singing him prior to this episode, but Kanan and Breeze are pulling up and taking all of Neek's corners, which we know, of course, Neek is out. Neek is done with the game, at least in New York. He's done with the game, so he's out making new life for himself and his family, same way that Kanan and Breeze are doing as well. With, of course, Kanan and Breeze taking these corners, of course, there's going to be a lot of pushback. A lot of this is people ego mindful. Hey, you on my corner? We seen The Wire. We know how this story goes. Machismo. But I do think at some point this is going to blow back somewhere where someone ends up, dead too soon or out of there, or a surprise death somewhere within the story. But of course, Kanan in this episode is continuously separating himself from Rock. We finally get a sit down between Kanan and Juke in this episode, where they finally just hash out a lot of their grievances, them being almost best friends. Typically, this is something that we've been seeing in the original episode, but of course, he apologizes. Shocker. He apologizes for pulling the strap on Juke in the last or previous conversation that they had, and they just go back over where he doesn't, at this point, doesn't feel as if Rock really had anything to do with Fame's death. But Juke is kind of still on the fence about what she thinks and what she has going on, which kind of leads her down her own path where she ends up getting with Officer Garcia, which another trick in this moment, because she's looking to pay him off in some kind of alliance. I'm interested in seeing if this is what got her pushed into the law enforcement path. For those who have watched Power before, yes, Jukebox is in the original show, season 3. Go back and watch it. So this will be interesting in seeing if this is how she really got into the law enforcement path, and just taking the bribes and just getting the money, because I didn't understand the whole point of Garcia starting or beginning to threaten her. You just previous episode know what type of people Juke is or what they are involved with. So for you to think that you're gonna be the big man on campus to get out of this situation, it don't work like that at all. But in this episode, we also get Rock, Flossie, and Marvin sitting down, and they are setting the path that they are about to begin. Yes, they are sitting down with all the women and informing the ones that Flossie feels that she can trust in this side of the game, which of course you won't be tricking on this side. You will just be a host of the product to a person and you get out of there. That's all that you will be doing. But of course, this conversation I felt was handled great, because it gave you a place or a spot for Flossie to speak, Rock to speak. Then you gave Marvin with like this straight from the hip, witty comedy stick, but also it was something that he really meant in these moments. But of course, what he was saying caught Floss's attention, and she was like, you know what? Hey, I want to link with you later. I'm in business with your sister, and I just like to get to know you. Now, Marvin, well, before we even get to Marvin, as I said, with Rock's character, Rock is probably my favorite Power Universe character. Marvin isn't that far behind her, in my personal opinion. I think his character development has been one of the most beautiful to see. And I know it's going to be one of the most heartbreaking to see. I think that Marvin is probably going to get in trouble with the law enforcement because um killed he killed his homeboy. And of course the daughter, they put her in a situation where she has to pretty much rat him out. It hasn't happened yet, but I do think that's gonna come back to bite him. I can't see him going to jail. I would like for him to be in jail, but it'll be interesting to seeing if it's a situation where we get that Cleo set it off moment. He's about to go to jail, but in a Blades of Glory, I'm not going out that way. It's just not happening. But then at the same time, I can't see him abandoning Juke in that moment. So if they let Kanan kill him, I'm gonna be mad. If that would be what they allowed to happen. I can't see that happening. I can see Juke knocking off Rock. I can see that happening, just based on the interactions that they have, or because a lot of their interactions or the relationship they had has dwindled a lot. They had a very tight knit relationship, and at this point, it's no longer what it was. It's falling off the ship. But back to Marvin and Flossie. Like I said, his journey has been a very interesting one that I have really been invested in. So whatever happened with Marvin, it's going to tug at them heartstrings. It's definitely going to tug at the heartstrings, and he finds out that Flossie's daughter has passed away. And I'm curious. I doubt it. No, it couldn't be. It couldn't be. I'm over here in my mind. Is it jukebox? But no, I can't. It can't be her. So the daughter passes away. We don't get a backstory or what happened there. Maybe down the road, but I think this set up the religious path for Marvin, or a more righteous path for Marvin to travel, because they talked about what she talked about, when you lose a family member, allow their memories to fill up your heart. And he said, you lose somebody, what goes around comes back around. Two different, completely different thought processes in that. But this conversation is followed up with him going to the pastor and just telling the pastor that he is just so angry. He's so hurt, just very vulnerable Marvin here, speaking with a pastor, which again evolves even more because he takes this conversation to Rock. He asks Rock if she's a religious person, and she said she doesn't believe so. She don't think so. And Marvin told her that the pastor told him that he needs to see God. And she said, well, that's the business he's in. That's what he would promote. That's what he would push. Of course, Marvin. But this conversation with Marvin and Rock was something that I've personally had in my own personal journey with my Lord and Savior. Just it's a you go through, you grow. Well, I grew up. Can't speak for everybody else, but I grew up in a fairly religious home. We went to church every Sunday. Some people, they go to church Sunday. We didn't really do the Wednesday, but we were in church. We listened to the music. We read the Bible. We did things. As I started to get older, as life, I won't say dealt me a bad hand, but things in my life, what I think is typical isn't typical for a normal person. And I know now that the life that I grew up in is I'm not gonna say it was a street life, but it's very street adjacent. And as you begin to do this, it's like, shoot, if God if like I wouldn't go through these things if there was the person that I'm praying to, the thing that I'm reaching out for. They wouldn't allow me to feel the way I feel. They wouldn't allow me to go through the struggles that I'm going through. They wouldn't allow this type of moment to get me, especially if I can be in control of certain moments, or if I can be a light, or I can be a help. There's no way that he would allow me to feel these things. And, Marvin in this moment, he talks about, he tells Rock, you start praying to something when you have nothing left but God. And I feel that. When you're back against the wall, what else are you thinking about? What else is there? What else matters at that moment? Especially again, that's if you believe. Some people don't believe and they get pushed into it. Some people don't. But of course, this is when Rock pushes back against him, or you're praying like that because you're so pressed, you believe in shit that's not true. It's not the easiest conversation to talk or speak with someone that's so hard and someone that doesn't believe. But I love the retort he had in that. Or you're so pressed you finally reach the truth, looking for shit that I lost and maybe I never find it. And that's somebody that's trying to have hope in what feels like a hopeless situation. And I felt it. I really enjoyed that conversation. I don't know if it'll trigger or do something for Rock moving forward, but I do love the journey that it does have Marvin on. But also with this, Marvin finally gets to have a conversation with Juke. Previously in these first previous episodes, we see he's been super shut off. He's just been in a one track minded. Who killed my brother? I'm get fitted. I'm about to find these people. I'm going after the people that killed my brother. And as he's looking for Neek before he get to Juke, he gets word in the street that Kanan is working with Breeze and Kanan is working with Neek. And this is something that Marvin is not going to stand for. Pulls up on Kanan, has a conversation just to make sure he's not with Neek, but Kanan then propositions him to work for him. And this is where not Kanan, but this is where one of the best reads we have in the power. Most people talk about when, ghosts, a lot of the reads you previously get in this show or this series, it's typically something messy, something petty. But this one right here was on some, it's machismo, on some ego shit, but it's some street shit as well. And he told Kanan, nigga, you will never even see as high as I am where you are. Never. I never work for you. There's never a world that I work for. I don't care how many bodies you do catch, how much money you get, how many things you own. I'll never work for you, and I'll never be as small as you are, which I do look at it as if he means a small mind, small person, not small as in money, but he'll be a small person in that. But of course, like I said, this leads back to the conversation with Juke, where she finally not accepts, but she concedes, and now she's in the game with Marvin as well. She actually propositioned him to leave. Would they just leave and just cut out the game? I don't think Marvin would be able to leave Rock in that situation. He's just a super family oriented person. We've seen that with how he handles or how he deals with family, even with him having or not a situation, but him having a riff with Kanan, having a riff with Lou, having a riff with Rock. He's still there for his family. He wouldn't just abandon them. But of course, at the end of this episode, we see Tiana, one of Flossie's women. She makes a sale. She comes back. She drops the money back off to Juke. Juke tries to get her to do another run. She said, I can't. Flossie just sent me a new trick to go and see. And we find out that it is Kanan. Yes, Kanan is back to mess with Rock's business. Of course, this has been pretty much put on him by Stefano, where Stefano is, has told her, yeah, Rock. We find out that it is Kanan. Yes, Kanan is back to mess with Rock's business. Now, this is set forth, or the blaze has been set a path by Stefano. Stefano told Kanan that Rock found a loophole in the conversation that they had. And in that conversation, remember, he told her, You won't be selling in Southside. You won't be selling in Queens no more. So her moving to Manhattan, linking up with Pino Bernardi isn't something that he likes at all. And of course, they even have a sit down this episode where we see they really don't fuck with each other. Not at all. And Bernardi even tells him off in that moment. What you doing? I really don't care. I just, out of respect, wanted to let you know what I'm doing, just so you know. But we see he doesn't like that, and yeah, I think that is the conclusion of episode 3. It's gonna be interesting to see, because I do know in the not in the previous, but in the next episode clip, in there we finally get some meetings. I don't want to spoil it because some people, typically I stop out on watching, but I have been. So we do get some new meetings, some new introductions in the next episode. So I'll be interested in seeing. Very curious if Marvin and Rock make it out of this show. Not necessarily someone going to the next show, but if they just make it out, because I don't recall there really being any conversation about what happens to them post or during the Power universe. I know in this episode, Kanan pretty much said that Rock's dead to him. So whether she dies or not, she's probably just going to be dead to him. Even if she's walking the earth, he just don't fuck with her no more. But man, again, this was episode 3, Tricks of Raising Kanan. Man, please like, share, subscribe. Let us know what you feel. Let me know your thoughts, what you think is going on, what's going to happen, and what you think about Marvin's evolution or the rest of the cast's evolution as we conclude this final season. But again, I'm Jason. This is the What's a Good Though podcast about movies and TV shows. Until next time, hey.